Let's talk all things arts on Julie Whitney Scott Presents, heard only on WGRN 91.9 LP, the Green Renaissance Station. Welcome to Let's Talk All Things Art. With me today, I have Mr. Anthony Windsor II. He is a filmmaker, a local artist right here in Central Ohio. We're going to talk about how he develops his films and what he's done recently. But before we get into all of that, I always like to first find out from my guests to you, audience, a little bit about the artist. Welcome, Anthony, to Let's Talk All Things Art.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. I want you to first start off with telling people, how did you become an artist? Get into this film business?
It was a lot of short steps that kind of led me here. I used to watch a lot of movies with my dad growing up, and in college I had this oddly enough, it was a poetry project I had to do, and I was thinking about something I could do for my totem poem, and I had this idea of making like some short video, and I linked up with one of my friends who was he was kind of like a filmographer. So I asked him to assist me, and it ended up growing from like the small comedy, just like sketch, into a full blown short film. And we had auditions and everything. And from there, I got into the 48-hour film project, and we linked up again and said, hey, we should probably, do a even bigger project. And from there, I just continued it every year. From there, I just kind of made my own production, and I've been just doing every year. I make a couple of short films.
Wow, that's very interesting. Tell my audience a little bit about what that 48-hour film thing is.
So the 48-hour film project, it's actually a global competition now, but each city has their own competition, and the goal of it is to get people just to make something, because a lot of people say, I'm going to do that one day, or they'll say I've written something, but at the end of the day, you have to go out there and do it. So it really forces you to just put everything together and go right in there. What happens during this competition is on Friday, there's the kickoff, and everyone pulls out their genre. Then you pull out a prop that you have to use, and then you also pull out a character name and their occupation. So, and that just helps keep people honest and generate ideas. And from there, you have 48 hours to write it, to direct it, and to edit it, and to turn it in. And it's a very strict 48-hour deadline. If you do not hit the upload button by the 48th hour, your film's kind of disqualified. They'll still show it, but you're not eligible for awards.
That sounds exciting. How old were you when you first started going to the 48 hours and participating with films? And what was your first film?
How old was I? The 48-hour film project, I was 24, and that was back in 2014. So 2013 is when I made Metaphor. So I was about 23. I was in college still. I'm a bit old, I know. So yeah, it's been going on. It'll be a decade here. Yeah, a decade this month will be. Oh, wow. Of done films.
Tell my listeners a little bit about the education that you took so that you could be a filmmaker, if you took any.
Yeah, absolutely. So I went to The Ohio State University, and I actually majored in strategic communications. I don't have a film major background. I think I took one or two film related classes, but they were more film and how it relates to the works of certain artists, or like the genre of noir, or Latin American film. So yeah, I don't have an actual film degree, and there's actually a lot of debate right now going on whether or not you actually need film school. And the consensus seems to be that you don't need film school, but it is good for getting contacts and starting. So, there's a lot of filmmakers out there. Some very proud graduates, and some just picked up the camera and built from there.
I think that's the fun of being a film artist. And because if you have a camera, and now everyone has a telephone. So if you have a cell phone and it's a video camera on it, you can film something and become a film artist. I think the part about the education, it helps you learn the techniques and as far as the terminology. Books, that's what books end up being, teaching you terminology, teaching you how this thing works writtenly, how you read it. But some things you actually don't get your experience, I've found, until you actually get out there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And do it. Anthony, how many films have you made thus far? And what's some of your favorite ones?
Oh man, how many films made thus far? I mean, at least a dozen so far. My favorite ones. The last one I made, 8 Steps for Achieving Financial Freedom. I think that was overall really solid. There was another one I made it's a horror called The Night Shift, and I think that is very good start to finish. Just from a sound and editing and music and acting. So those are two of my favorite ones. And then there are also ones that I've made that I'm sort of proud of. I like Rissy's Revenge. That was it was actually a nod to blaxploitation films. So I had kung fu action in there. I had some catchphrases. I had a nice jazzy soundtrack to it. And then there's another one called Salvation Comes, which is my largest production. At one point it said we had like almost 30 people out there. Yeah. So that was the closest I've been to a large production.
Production. Such an important piece of anything we do in the entertainment world. Talk about how you go about finding people that you need to help you put your film and to life, the aspects of that.
Yes. So finding people, not easy. What happens is when you first start, the only people that you have are your friends and family that you have to kind of guilt into helping you. And you soon find not very reliable, especially if they're not being paid. So it's just a matter of filming something, meeting other filmmakers with kind of similar interests and a vision similar to yours, working with them. And you have to slowly grow your network over time. I mean, when I first started, it was just me and whoever was running camera for me, and that was it. In this last one, just through the years, I found a cinematographer. I found someone that'll do the music for me. I found someone that'll run audio for you, someone that'll just operate the camera for you, assistant directors, executive producers, and actors. I mean, it's just a matter of growing your network out over time and finding who you can depend on and who is kind of has that similar vision to you.
Anthony, tell me, what have you found to be the most difficult thing for you as a young filmmaker?
I think the most difficult thing is just getting resources for film. The thing is, as you grow as a filmmaker, you're going to want to grow the quality of your film equal to you, and as the quality grows, it becomes more and more difficult to find stuff that'll match the quality. A good example is the thing that separates what like an amateur film and a professional film are set design and lighting. And that's something you don't notice unless you really pay attention, put them side by side. You'll see how they really differ. But in order to get great lighting, you're going to need a lot more money. Same for set design. You're going to need set decorators. You're going to need great locations. You're going to need people, a cinematographer with a very creative eye. that understands how to pull everything that knows how to pull your vision together and incorporate it to what you have. So I think that's always my biggest challenge. I spend so much time in pre-production just trying to find the perfect fit.
Anthony, you said a mouthful there, but the truth is money.
Yes.
Because the resources is money.
Oh,
no matter
yeah.
what, when you're trying to put on a film, like you said, to a higher quality, because it always comes down to the sound and the lighting.
Yes.
And because I've dibbled and dabbled a little bit behind the film camera on that, on the low end, like we don't have any money. Everybody's helping each other out. We're not getting paid. We just trying to get this film developed so we can get, like you was saying, like on a higher level. But as you reach that higher level, as you start off making that film, and now, like you said, you're doing more, you're getting better. And some people are getting awards, and you're getting better, you're getting nominated, you're getting noticed. People see you. But without that money, and the resources and the backers, you just get stuck. In this we get stuck. I'm a professor too. We get stuck in where we can go.
I always like to tell people I always like to tell people that the only thing stopping me from making a feature film is $50,000.
Give me the money. And I can do it, because that's what it takes. That's what it takes. What's been the most rewarding thing for you?
The most rewarding thing, obviously getting to see your film on the big screen is very rewarding, see the fruits of your labor. But the connections that I've made along the way, those are irreplaceable. I've met so many creative individuals. I've met so many friends, just so many different figures that I love talking to and seeing. I think that's been the most rewarding part for me.
Yes, the networking, because that's how we keep going and how we keep moving, and how we even make the films that you're making is through the networking and the connection. Do you think we have a large film theater community here?
I think we have a larger one than you would expect, because when you think of cities with large film communities, you immediately think of your LAs and New Yorks, Vancouver's, Atlanta's. But there is a very thriving and very creative community here right in Columbus. I mean, there are people every year that I meet that end up moving out to those larger markets to try to network themselves a bit more. So I would say it's growing, but it's not tiny. I will tell you that there are a lot of creatives out there, a lot of filmmaking going on. If you just look, just right under the surface.
How difficult is it to find a place where you need to shoot your scenes for a film?
That, I think, honestly, is probably the most difficult part, because in order to film, there's so much that you need that you don't notice until you start doing this. So when I remember someone asked what I was looking for, and I sent them a list, and I realized how long that list was growing, because you need something that you have access to for hours on end. You need something that's quiet, right? If you can't have outside noise. Sometimes a bar or restaurant might let you film in there, but you're filming during hours. Your audio is going to be very inconsistent and terrible. You need a place with electricity. You need somewhere where you can control for sound. Somewhere, it's just so much. It's to the point now that anytime I set foot, if I go somewhere I've never been before, I just subconsciously look around and think, could I possibly use this to film in? And then your other option from there is you can always film on a set, just like a closed set, which of course costs money. So it's not easy. A lot of times you have to kind of wheel and deal.
Do you see any similarities between filmmaking and producing a play?
I think that there are a lot of similarities. The biggest similarity is all your work is in pre-production. I mean, you both have a pre-production play. It's, I think, 90% pre-production. Then once the play happens, that's kind of it. But filmmaking, there is a large amount of pre-production that goes into it because, as with plays, you have to find the right cast, who's going to work well together. You know, it has to be written. There's a lot of editing that's done during regular production, right? You'll notice that something just isn't working, so you have to change the blocking. You have to change some dialogue's clunky. You might hear something better and say, you know what, let's go with that. And you have your actors, but the actors are just one small piece of it. You have your entire crew to manage as well. When I'm on set, I'm managing the lighting, I'm managing our sound, I'm answering questions. I mean, just saying action and cut is such a small part of what I'm doing there. So yeah, I think that the two really feed off each other very well. If you can produce a play, you can produce a movie, and I think vice versa.
You're a stand-up comedian also.
Yeah, something I've recently gotten into.
Tell us about that.
Okay, so I've been doing improv for a while, and I think after doing it for so many years, I've always had an admiration for stand-up, just being able to go out there and it's a different part of your brain that you're exercising. A lot of it is how good are you at telling a story. There are the classic one-liners, comedians that you think of, but I always found that the best ones are ones that relate to the audience and that are able to tell their story. So it was something that I've always wanted to try. I've always enjoyed entertaining and making people laugh. So it was a challenge I wanted to take onto myself. I had, I had some funny stuff I wanted to say. And it's a bit different than improv because improv, it's easy to get into. You have a whole group of people, so if you're not doing well, you have everyone else to fall back on. Stand up, it's hard to get on stage by yourself. But it's a lot of rewriting. So all your work is going to be done at open mics, seeing what works and what doesn't. So I find it a bit challenging, but also very rewarding because if you get laughs, you did that. It's something that you've done.
Where can we see you perform as a comedian?
As a comedian, I am. You can follow me with Affirmative Distraction on Instagram and Facebook, and then also Uncle Fun. That's another improv troupe that I do. And then as far as stand-up comedy, I had one at the Funny Bone that got postponed, so I guess look out for that. If you ever want to follow my comedy page, it's Lord Anthony Windsor II.
Is that your title?
Yes, I'm a Scottish lord, according to the certificate I got for Christmas.
That's good. That's good. That's really good. Do you write your own films, your screenplays, or do you look for those from other people?
I write them. I mean, sometimes sometimes I'll write it with other people, which I've done a lot, but I'm very involved in the writing. I might bounce ideas off, but yeah, that's me writing it. I'll write it and maybe have someone go behind me and try to fix the clunkiness in it. But yeah.
How did you come up with thinking about 8 steps for achieving financial freedom?
So it was originally going to be called 10 steps for financial freedom or something like that. But when I wrote it, I got to 8 before the joke just there's no more jokes to be added in. So, it was good there. The way that I had it was for the 48, and we had, when I write my film for the 48-hour film project, I write based around the locations that we have. So I'll get a location first and then worry about the story. And I think that's the best way to go. So I had basically one location, and I guess my house if I needed to, which I did film part of it in my house. But it was, I call it a Mojo Flow Studio, which were this neo funk group, Mojo Flow. Their little warehouse where they practice at. And I thought it looked pretty interesting. It had some good looks in there. So I thought, what can I do there? And then I only had 2 actors, both female. And I was like, okay, well, not really much that we have here, but we'll see what we have. So we're just bouncing off ideas. And it just happened to be the first one I pitched. I said, okay, what if, what if someone had a little baking show, whatever, and it starts out normal, but it turns out they have someone like tied up or something. And I think from there, instead of baking, we did financial freedom, just because the setup for cooking shows and everything that we needed, it would have taken too long based on the location that we would have used for it, and it wasn't great. So we changed it up a bit, just reworking it. And the joke was that, someone has a financial freedom show, and turns out that they have, someone kind of tied up, and it goes back and forth between breaking the fourth wall. So they'll be talking to them. They'll turn back to the audience, kind of give their advice. And at one point, they even break the fifth wall. So yeah, it's a dark comedy, which seems to be my bread and butter.
Well, the fifth wall, that's interesting. Where's that at? That's got to be way out there somewhere.
Oh yeah, if you watch the film, yeah, there are times where she turns to the camera, but there's also is a time where she turns to the camera, but it's not towards us, it's to some like invisible one off screen. It's yeah, it's one of those things where you just escalate the joke, and then I got to a point where, all right, it can't go any further, and I think that's where I just kind of cut it. Like, okay, I don't like beating a dead horse.
And you believe that Carly Simon once wrote a song.
Yes,
about you. Why do you believe that?
Well, she had a song. It's called "You're So Vain." You probably think the song's about you, and I was like, she's writing about me. So yeah, she wrote a song about me once.
Oh, okay. I'm betting that's part of the stand-up. That's great. That's funny. I like that.
That is. In fact, I'm copywriting it, so no one else is allowed to use it now.
Oh yeah, because that's funny. Mm-hmm. That's funny. All right. Well, put this here. Anthony Windsor II. It's been a fun time having you here with me today. I've learned a lot, and I know that my audience and listeners are going to learn a lot too. Before we leave, I want you to first give some advice out there, a word of encouragement to some young filmmaker or old filmmaker like myself who wants to make a film. Give them some word of encouragement.
All right. Nike, just do it. I mean, you can talk about doing it all day long, but at some point you need to just set aside a day and say, you know what, this is today. Just get all your friends and say, this day, this time, this place, we're filming, and just do it. You're never going. It's never going to happen unless you just go out there and do it.
How can my audience find your work or get in touch with you?
Oh, awesome. You can find my work on my films on YouTube. The page is called Incompetent Films. So it's on YouTube. I'm on Facebook as well under Incompetent Films. And then you can also follow me on social media if you need to get in contact with me. My Instagram is AWindsorII. And then on Facebook, you can find me. I'm the Lord Anthony Windsor II.
Well, Sir Lord,
thank you.
Thank you so much for being with me today on Let's Talk All Things Art. And I can't wait to see you with the big film, because with your young, bright, intelligent, creative mind, I am sure that God's going to bless you.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and I can't wait to be blessed with $50,000 for this feature film.
It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. I'm so glad I've met you. Have a great day.
Thank you as well.
Thank you for being with me on Let's Talk All Things Art. This is another Mind for God production sponsored event hosted by me, Julie Whitney Scott.